the exploration into what peak performance is has been really the core of my life. It's been a very interesting adventure. I originally came to understand that it was a very special feeling climate that people had inside themselves that enabled their genius to kind of, surface and to be able to be their best in those moments of high critical stress or in those moments when it's most important. And as I began to understand more of the physiology involved and I began to realize that performing at your best is fundamentally an energy management issue. It's bringing the best and full energy that you have, that's multidimensional, physical, emotional, mental, and even spiritual, to whatever you're doing in this moment right here, right now. It's an acquired skill set, and I really come to refer to it now as this engagement space. It's the space where your ideal performance state really takes hold and you can immerse yourself so completely in what you're doing that what you can do and what you do are fundamentally one and the same. And it's acquired. It takes a lot of hard work over many years to hone the ability to enter that space, but it's definitely controllable. You never get complete control over it. And there are lots of feelings that are surface around it, the feeling of calmness, the feeling of focus, the feeling of being very automatic and instinctive. But really what it comes out of is this merging of energy and awareness and what I refer to as discretionary effort in the pursuit of igniting what you're capable of in the moment that you are in right here, right now, in spite of the brutality of whatever conditions you might face. And you have to train physically, you have to train emotionally, you have to train mentally, and you even have to train spiritually, which is the energy associated with purpose. You have to have your purpose aligned, your emotions aligned, your thinking aligned, and your body aligned with what it is you want. And the more you do that, the more you're likely to access that space, enter that special place where your talent and skill become accessible. And it's kind of what we're all trying to do in the course of our lives. It's a very exciting place to go. But it's not easy to get there, but you can get there with practice and training. Sports for me became a living laboratory for distilling how the mind, the body, and the spirit work in the crucible of pressure. And I began to realize the first request we got to export this into another high performance venue was in the arena of FBI, anti-terrorist, hostage rescue teams. And it kind of went from just being a game to a very high level of accountability that really was a life and death issue. And I began, as they began to respond to this, and we made some, I think, really big contributions there, that this was something that had applicability way beyond the arena of sport. And I began to realize that this would be what I would like to be as, if I left some kind of legacy behind, I would like to not only just kind of mine some of these principles, but to apply them in areas like medicine and business, in areas that are real life, that actually can make a profound difference in people's ability to navigate in life. And that's what we're doing here now. It's really the fulfillment of my dream, to be able to. I started in clinical psychology, kind of working in the real world, trying to helping people to kind of find their way. And now I'm armed with so much more information and understanding, and we have a team here that's so extraordinary, and we are able to tap into the best research that we, I think, can possibly imagine from every corner of the globe to help us kind of solve this riddle and to actually help people to live more fully engaged, more functional lives, both in the context of their work, but more importantly with their families, their communities, and friends. And for me, it's the most fulfilling part of my life. It was very fulfilling to be in the world of sport, but the application to the real world, I think, has given me a sense of fulfillment that goes way beyond anything that I ever understood in sport. But sport has been the greatest gift, particularly tennis, and continues to give tremendous balance to my life and insight. And I will always kind of look to it as really the foundation. That's why we have a tennis academy here, and I'll continue to be involved in that. But the application, I think, to the real world is where I find the greatest value and the greatest sense of accomplishment in my own life. You know, I've spent years listening to people's stories, and I became very clear that the way in which people kind of came to see their world, actually came to understand how things fit together to them, in a sense became their story. There's the real world, and then there's our version of the real world, and our version is our story. And I began to realize the power of people's stories, and that in a real sense, your story becomes your destiny. And in the context of managing energy, a story is simply a direction that your energy flows. You give life to something with every story and take life away from something with every story. And you can give life to being a victim, you can give life to anger, to fear, to revenge, to the sense of adventure, to gratefulness, to human compassion, to kindness. Whatever it is, you can give it to greed, your stories of financial success, or whatever it is that your story is driven by. It's reflected in purpose, it's reflected in the veracity or truth of your story, and it's reflected in the hope of your story. And what we learned in sport is to help people to craft stories that are grounded in truth, that take them where they want to go and inspire them to do difficult things so that their life they can complete that mission, whatever it is that stands before them. And we've taken that understanding, refined it, and we literally, here at this Human Performance Institute, that's what we do. We help people craft stories. And then we look at them. We look at their old stories and where they're flawed and where they're dysfunctional and where they don't work, and how to rebuild them. And then anchor those with rituals that help to make sure that the new story gets life in the real world. So it's cognitive in the sense of really crystallizing it in terms of our abstract understanding and our thoughtfulness, and then actually anchoring it behaviorally in the real world. And that's how we get the greatest changes in people. And whether it's in tennis or some sport, or all the way into medicine, law enforcement, or in the world of business. And we get better at it. We collect data like crazy. We track people for years to see the veracity of the storytelling. But our stories literally become our destiny, and it's been one of the most powerful metaphors. It's almost beyond a metaphor. It's kind of how we operate. Human beings are storytellers first and foremost. That's how we function in the world. But we very rarely realize that our stories are our own making, and that we can change them when they don't work, as long as they reflect the truth. And they take us where we want to go, and they inspire us to make whatever course corrections we need to. So for us, getting our story straight is number one. So hope that made some sense.